It is July 2020, and right now, Clare Crawley, the Bachelorette, could have been engaged, and we should have been finishing her season. But of course, 2020 came along and said,
"Yeah, that's not gonna happen."
However, there is good news. A bunch of Instagram hunks have recently gone offline, Claire's been seen on a plane, a resort in California has been completely booked off by ABC. You know what that means.
We are back, baby. We are f***ing back.
We are back!
That's
we
right.
are back!
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have.
And yeah, I watched The Hangover last week, sue me. So what's the tea on the Bachelorette returning? Do we have any idea who Claire's new men are? How are things going to change? And what does the rest of 2020 and into 2021 look like for the franchise? So, here's an update as of July 20th on everything you need to know about the Bachelorette season to come. Now, originally, Claire's season was set to film directly after The Bachelor finished, but as we all know, that got delayed. Well, as of this past week, filming for the new season has begun, and just yesterday, Bachelor creator Mike Fleiss tweeted that the first rose ceremony was in the books. And all of this might not come as a surprise to you if you follow Claire on Instagram, as over a week ago, Claire posted this, a message to herself saying, "You were let down time and time again, but you didn't let it shatter your faith in relationships, in love. Just keep strong. For me, keep going, keep on fighting." A send-off to herself, her Instagram account, and her followers as she hopped on a plane to La Quinta, California, the filming location of The Bachelorette Season 16. And we've already had photos of Claire at La Quinta Resort and Club, like here where it's assumed Claire is filming her intro segment for the season. La Quinta has also been blocked off, and production crew have been sighted inside and seen in these photos. Now, according to the show's production team, La Quinta was chosen because of the amount of space on the resort and how much of it is outdoors, which could make the season feel less enclosed, as the season itself currently has no solid plans to leave the resort at all. But that doesn't necessarily mean the show won't be headed outside of the resort to other states or locations. According to sources at the show in interviews like with People magazine, the decision to leave the resort is one that will be looked at day to day. Obviously, at the moment, it's out of the question, but should restrictions start to loosen as things improve, it might become a possibility. But that's a very positive and possibly naive outlook, and it's also considering Claire and the men are even comfortable heading back on a plane so soon after leaving for California. Now, as for how the show is handling the filming process, well, as of now, here's what I know, and I wish the show would give a more detailed outline of their protocols, but for now, production is working with a reduced crew that arrived prior to the first filming date to set up a safe environment and get used to all the necessary protocols. There's also a medical staff in place enforcing said protocols, as well as administering tests.
Can we get a little more Gatorade for Taj?
Can I get guacamole?
And the men were all isolated and are also constantly tested. Which brings us to the next big part of the season. What's up with the men? Originally, the cast list of men was revealed back before the show was delayed, and it included people like Matt James, and what many Bachelor fans were disappointed to see, a lot of dudes in their 20s. Especially after Peter's season, where a lot of viewers were hoping to see a more mature cast. You know, not a lot to expect considering the announcement of a 39-year-old Bachelorette. But with the delay, the show was then able to spend some time recasting the men, and we now have a list of 42 guys who have been cast. 17 men from the originally announced cast, and 25 new names. And yeah, you heard that right, 42 men. So does this mean we're about to have the largest cast in Bachelor or Bachelorette history? Well, no, that is not going to happen. And just like last year with Hannah Brown's original cast announcement including more men than actually ended up on the show, it's almost certain that the same is going to be happening this year. The list of men will likely be down to a more usual cast number for night 1, like 30. The extra men is probably just a safety net for ABC in case a lot of men test positive. So, who are these guys? Now, obviously, Matt James is no longer going to be a part of the show now that he's been cast as the next Bachelor. But in the list of names dropped, there are 16 men who are in their 20s, with Noah being the youngest man on the season at 25. There are 25 men in their 30s, and one man who is 40. But it's interesting to note that both the youngest guy from the original cast list, James Clark here, who's 23, along with the oldest contestant, Brett, at 42, both were cut from the show when it started recasting. Now, most of the guys from the cut list were in their mid-20s, and I wonder if Clare had a hand in deciding who stayed and who went. It's a bit of a misconception that the lead gets to approve any of the men or women who appear on their season before they actually see them, or that they have any knowledge at all about who's going to be on their show, apart from what they either hear in spoilers or what they tell the production team is, quote, their type. But with the delay in production, Clare would have had the unusual opportunity to check out the initial cast list and say stuff like, please no soul patches, or please no initials that spell out Juan Pablo. In fact, on the Bachelor Happy Hour podcast, Clare admitted she had looked up her men, at least the first cast list, saying, what woman wouldn't? And you might also be thinking, 16 men in their 20s, and so many of these guys are 30 or 31? Isn't that still too young for 39-year-old Clare Crawley? Well, there are 2 points to bring up here. One, Clare has historically dated younger, so perhaps, for her, early 30s is the sweet spot. Maybe she told production that she's open to men in their 20s if it's the right guy. And 2, Bachelor in Paradise is still a thing. The Bachelor cycle is still a thing. Bachelor feeds into Bachelorette, Bachelorette feeds into The Bachelor, and both feed into Bachelor in Paradise. And considering that 28-year-old Matt James' season is unlikely to have a lot of 30-plus-year-olds on it, the show is going to need some younger contestants from Clare's season to fill in the pool for Paradise. Pun intended. So, we know who the men are going to be, minus the few who don't make the cut night one. But what's the show going to look like? Well, one thing seems possible. It looks like there are still going to be limo entrances if this picture is to be believed. And I'd be shocked if we didn't get some costume gimmicks as well. So get your Bachelorette bingo cards out and hope to see a square that says, guy enters wearing a mask, cause I bet you will be seeing that. Extra points if there's an a-hole who coughs on someone. Now, protective measures like masks and social distancing are sure to be present, and we already have a photo of Clare taking a break from her mask wearing. But what does that mean for romantic dates, snuggling up together, and hot tub makeout sessions?
In Germany, when we have a meeting, appointment, and we go in jacuzzi, it's a date.
For the production team, the hope is that this is all going to be a go, with the Bachelor Bubble Resort making sure everyone is safe and tested throughout the season. So as long as everyone's keeping in the clear, and as long as things are kept within the bubble, Fantasy Suites will be getting the green light. And with the first rose ceremony already done and no catastrophic failures to report, knock on wood because things are seemingly off to a good start. But then what about hometowns or the final 2 men meeting Clare's family? Unfortunately, there's nothing to be done about that unless drastic changes in state-to-state restrictions happen in the very near future. No visitors and no media will be allowed inside the resort during the filming of the show. Now, will they cut out hometowns completely? I doubt that. Not to the point where it doesn't exist, at least. I'd imagine some sort of Zoom call interaction to be put in place for Clare's Final 4. And then what about the men tell-all? Are they going to film that later, like they usually do? That sounds like a bit of a nightmare, honestly, as getting the men to leave and then reorganizing their comeback when there still might be a pandemic going on. I don't know, doesn't sound like a very smart idea to me. So will they then keep the guys on the resort and have them film it right there? Does that mean the men are going to have to stick around after they're cut by Clare, and could that create more drama? And what's going to happen when Clare actually picks someone? How are they going to handle those secret meetings and keeping the two together during the time between filming and when the show airs? I don't know. And what does this all mean for us, the viewer? When can we expect the season to come out, and what does this mean for The Bachelor? Well, it's already been announced that The Bachelorette will be coming at us later this year, and on Tuesdays, so as not to be on for Monday Night Football. And so we can expect the season sometime either in late September or early October. As for Matt James' season of The Bachelor, well, that's going to start filming around the same time that Clare's season will be on air, meaning The Bachelor will be back on for its normal slot in January. And hopefully by the time that starts filming, things will be in a much better place, and the show won't have to be filmed in a bubble. Hopefully. So, in all, this is going to be a very unusual season ahead of us. Here's to hoping that the people at The Bachelor have some exciting one-on-ones and group dates planned for inside the resort, and that we have a much improved season ahead of us with lots of romance and some fun drama to boot. Which, if there's one thing I know about the people at The Bachelor, never doubt their ability to get the drama. So that's it for this video update on Clare's season of The Bachelorette. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about the season and seeing it when it finally airs. So, until next video, Bachelor Fan Take, out.
We are back, baby. We are fucking back.
We are back!
That's
We
right.
are back!
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have.